television. So please welcome István Borbás.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it is very good.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Luca, and I will be translating István's Masterclass. István and not István, the way we say it in Hungarian. Is there anyone who saw the short films yesterday? Yesterday were screened a bunch of his works. Not only Roy Andersson ones, but commercials and some short films. Okay.
We want to hear you.
Yeah, okay. I tried. That's not working. No, I speak Hungarian. This is very, very special language. Na, szóval az, hogy ma este megpróbálom megmutatni azt, hogy készültek ezek a filmek.
István will be talking about how the films were made, the ones that were shown yesterday.
És akkor talán lesz egy kis beszélgetés és kérdések.
There will be a little conversation, a few questions, and also in the end, you guys will have an opportunity to ask questions.
És a legvégén pedig, hogyha nektek van valami kérdésetek, akkor arra szívesen válaszolom. Ja. Okay. Akkor elkezdjük a történetet onnan, hogy azért tartom fontosnak ezt a... Space is very important. Na, szóval az, hogy egy olyan tapasztalatot szeretnék megosztani velük, ami nagyon fontos talán minden filmesnek. Roy Andersson történetét a filmben.
István wants to share an experience which is very important in the history of film, which is Roy Andersson's experience in filmmaking.
A Roy első filmje egy óriási siker volt, a második filmje viszont egy nagyon nagy bukás volt, és emiatt őt kizárták a svéd filméletből.
Roy Andersson's first movie was a great success, and his second movie was a great failure. And the Swedish film industry stopped him from being able to make films. They wouldn't fund it anymore. They wouldn't fund his film ideas.
Ezért kénytelen volt reklámfilmeket csinálni, hogy túléljen.
So he had to start making commercials in order to survive, and that's how he started making commercials.
És akkor elhatározta, hogy ő csak úgy tud játékfilmet csinálni, hogyha lesz egy olyan apparátusa, ami fölött ő rendelkezik, amivel neki van kontrollja. Tehát egy stúdiót kellett alapítania.
So he understood that the only way he can make feature films is that if he has his own studio and his own equipment, and that's how half of his money that he earned from commercial making, he built Studio 24, and that's where he was working.
És a 70-es, 80-as években Roy volt a világ egyik legkeresettebb és a legjobb reklámfilmrendezője.
From here to there, in the 70s and 80s, Roy Andersson was the most famous commercial making figure in the world.
És 84-ben találkoztunk, és akkor a Roy elég fáradt volt már, és elege volt a reklámfilmből.
István and Roy met in '84, so István wasn't part of the first and the second feature film, and he met him at the time when he was already very tired of everything because he went through all that. He went through the failure and the commercials and everything, and he wasn't gonna make any more films.
És akkor elkezdtük együtt próbálni filmet csinálni, akkor azon gondolkodtuk, hogy lehet-e úgy reklámfilmet csinálni, hogy azért még most is élvezzük, hogy mi is élvezzük a dolgot.
So they started working together and they started thinking of how they can make commercials in a way that they still enjoy it. So it's not just just for profit or something, but it's something that they can stand behind and enjoy.
És akkor elkezdtük, és szeretném megmutatni az első filmet, amit közösen csináltunk, amit először a Stúdió 24-ben a stúdióban készítettünk, és ez a film egy reklám egy cukorvállalatnak, aminek a történetét azt el kéne mesélni, hogy értsék, amikor tegnapokat nem értették, tehát azt, hogy keresnek valami édesítőszert, nincs, porolják a benzinkuta, és utána a vége az, hogy csak a cukor édesít, természetesen.
És ez minek volt a reklámja?
Egy cukorvállalatnak.
So he would like to show the first commercial that they made together, István and Roy made together. It is a sugar company commercial, and he wants me to tell the story before you see it because it's in Swedish and a little bit of English, but the point of the whole thing, just so you will understand, is that they are looking for, these women are looking for artificial sweetener, like a sweetener supplement, in like a place in the middle of nowhere, and they don't even know what they're talking about. So the point is that only sugar makes everything sweet.
Yeah.
No, listen, artificial sweetness.
Little tiny pills to put in your coffee to make it sweet.
Är det sånt där konstgjort sötningsmedel de menar?
Sötningsmedel? Det har vi inte, tyvärr.
Har du hade min sånt där på bensinstation? Försök på bensinstation.
Ja, ez egy nagyon egyszerű film volt, és itt érdekes, azért is mutatta meg, hogy először használtuk a vicc sminket.
Another reason why he wanted to show it is why it's interesting is that because it's the first time that they used the white makeup for the face of the characters. El akarja mondani, hogy miért?
Igen, hát érdemes talán elmesélni azt, hogy akkor vettük észre, hogy ezzel hogy eltüntettük a valódi karaktereket, hogy valami mást jelképeznek, nem csak ők magukat, hanem sokkal többet.
The reason why they used the white makeup for the whole face of the characters that they continued using after, and you will see in a lot of their works, is because Roy Andersson's theory was that once you paint the face white, the character will start representing something more than themselves. They will represent humanity basically, and they compare it to the clown. The clown that his face is painted completely white. It's the point is that he gives up on his own identity and becomes something else, something that can be related by everyone.
És akkor jött egy film megrendelés a Szociáldemokrata Párttól Svédországba arra, hogy valami olyan filmet kell csinálni, ami arról szól, hogy az egoista társadalmat azt ne fogadjuk el.
Then came the order from the Socialist Democratic Party in Sweden, where they were working, to make them promotional commercial video, and that the point of it was supposed to be. At the time, Sweden was a welfare state, the top of welfare states, and their point was not to accept the egoist society.
És az volt az utolsó felirat ezen a filmen, hogy minek törődjünk egymással.
The last sentence on the commercial was like, why would we even care about each other?
Yeah, because. Yes.
Oh mama, oh my mama, oh mama, oh my mama, oh my mama, oh my mama, oh my
Senki nem akar ilyen társadalmat, és ezért a szociáldemokraták nyertek is ezzel a filmmel.
Nobody wants a society like this, so the Social Democratic Party actually won the elections at the time.
Utána készültek, most gyorsan menjünk, nézzük meg 2 reklámfilmet, de erről még annyit elmondanak, hogy itt először gondoltunk arra, hogy a térnek mekkora szerepe van.
This was the first time. They will show now 2 more commercials, but it's important for him to say that this was the first time that they thought about the importance of space in the story of a character.
Csak így egyszerűen ti is látjátok, hogy mennyire nagy különbséget vesztek észre, hogyha például itt állok, vagy itt állok, vagy itt állok.
You can see, for instance, what kind of a difference it makes if you will stand and talk from there, or from here, or from
Tehát a
another.
tér az nagyon meghatározza az élményt, és ezért nagyon fontos, hogy jól használjuk a teret egy filmnél.
So the space, yeah, the space really defines the experience, and that is why it was always very important for them to be very specific and precise about where they place their characters.
Valójában a tér sokkal többet mesél el rólunk, mint az arcunk.
He thinks that the space actually tells a lot more about us than our face, which is why they use
Sokat mesél az ambícióinkról, tehát a vágyainkról, mindent el lehet mondani a térrel, és aztán ezen belül nagyon fontos, hogy hova helyezzük el a személyeket itt a téren.
It tells the audience a lot more about the characters' ambitions and motivations and the wishes than facial expressions. And we will see it through examples.
Folytassuk azt, hogy folytatni kellett a reklámfilm készítést.
Akar valamelyiket?
Igen. Most két filmet nyomunk egymás után, csak nézzük meg, hogy kérnek, hogy rakják fel a filmet.
We have the
next commercial.
Yes,
just to see which ones there are.
We take this lotto. No, this 85 seats. De ez a lotto.
Så har vi den rätta lottoraden.
Lotto! Ja, ni käften!
Nummer 2.
Ja, är det Lotto?
11. 23. Och så vädret. Södra Götaland och västkustområdet.
Vad är det för siffror?
Under dagen med temperaturer
Vad var det för siffror?
They changed the channel to the weather, and they are asking what were the numbers because it's the lotto.
Svealand.
And the last sentence was an exciting game every Saturday.
Ez volt az első film, amivel Cannes-ba Aranyország nyertük a közös munkánktól.
This was the first. Yeah, this was the first work that they won together commercial competition in Cannes.
A következő film, nézzük meg egybe a következőt is.
Let's
Next.
watch another one. He will tell you which one.
Yes? That? Stop. És itt ez arról szól, hogy takarékos, hogy időben lakásra. Egy az egész.
It's about
Egy születésnapi alkalom.
Yeah, it's about a insurance company that wants to convince people to think ahead to save money for apartment, and you will see what happens. But just so you understand.
Ja, må han leva ut i 100 år.
Ja, visst ska hon leva, visst ska hon leva, visst ska hon leva till 100 år.
Jag orkar inte längre.
I can't take it anymore.
Kenneth.
Vad är det
What
med
happened to
er?
you? Save money on time.
Ja. A következő 1988-ban a szociáldemokraták visszajöttek hozzánk, hogy csináljunk még egy filmet a választás előtt.
In 88, the Social Democratic Party came back to them again and asked them again to make a video, like a promotion for them.
És akkor azok, hogy nem tudunk csinálni, mert annyit hazudtak az előző periódusban, hogy ilyenek
And they said, we are sorry, we cannot do it for you because you lied so much in the past period that we're not going to do it.
De egy idő után visszajöttek hozzánk, és azt mondták, hogy teljesen szabad kezet adnak.
After a while, they came back to them again and they said there is no one else that can do the kind of work that we want to do, so you can have a green light for whatever you want to do and the big budget.
Yes. És akkor töltük a fejünket, hogy mit lehetne csinálni, hogy ne legyen hazugság.
And they were thinking, so okay, we will do it because we have freedom to do whatever we want, but what can we do which will be also a promotion for them, but also not a complete lie like it was before.
És nem tudtuk, hetekig semmit nem tudtunk kitalálni.
For weeks we had no idea what to do.
És akkor a Roy egyszer csak egy asztalnál azt mondta, hogy a lány azt mondta neki, hogy édességet szeretem, mert nagyon szereti az édességet.
And then Roy came up with the idea that his daughter, that was little at the time, just said a few days ago that I want some sweets. I just really want sweets.
Ja. És akkor jött a gondolat, hogy igen, mindenfélét akarunk, és hogy lehet ezt összeegyeztetni.
And so the thought was like, okay, we want a lot of kinds of different things. How can we bring it together?
És akkor lett ez a film.
And that's how we created this
És
film.
majd mondjuk, hogy no. I am really sorry, they don't feel. I'm really sorry. Yeah, but it's a different. What? YouTube. Yeah.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, yes.
But he will tell us what was the point.
Hát ez sok időre ezt hagyjuk akkor most.
Yeah, it will take too much time, so it's okay, but he will tell, but
Akkor az, hogy erről most többet nem beszélünk, megint nyertek.
He's not going to talk more about it, but it won again, like the party won again with this promotion video.
De több filmet nem csináltunk, de ki utána meg veszítettek.
And they didn't make more promotion for them, and they lost. So apparently they had a big...
De akkor elkezdtünk gondolkodni azon, hogy kéne összeszedni annyi pénzt, hogy elkezdhessük játékfilmet csinálni.
And they started thinking how to make enough money that they can actually make a feature film.
És akkor csináltunk egy csomó külföldi megjegyzése filmet, és ebből most 3 vetítenék le.
And then they started making commercials for orders from abroad, and he will because they were bigger budget videos than the Swedish ones, and he will show now 3 of them.
92A, B, and 93.
If you flew Air France's L'Espace Europe, you'd have the right to privacy. You and your neighbor would be separated by the width of a full seat.
Not all used cars have a 72-point check and an exchange engine with a 2-year guarantee. Citroen.
De a Last, ez az utolsó mondat, ez az egyik legegyszerűbb és legelegánsabb film, amit csináltunk. Ez egy dán cégnek, egy ilyen pesti cégnek készült, és ez mutatja azt, hogy lehet nagyon aranyos és egyszerű filmet csinálni, ami működik nagyon jól reklámként is.
István says that the next one it was for a Danish company. You will see what kind of company, and it's the most simple and most elegant work that they created, and it's a good example for how a simple idea can become something good.
A Svéd Filmintézet kitalált egy tervet, hogy 90 percig 90-es évek csinált sorozatot a 90-es években, ahol minden évben 10 percet más rendezők készült.
In 1990, the Swedish film industry had the idea to have one director make a 10-minute short film about a Swedish society each year. They will be showing it in the festival and in the television each year. And after 10 years, there will be a 90-minute full film about Swedish society in the 90s.
Royhoz fordultak, hogy az első részt csinálja meg ő, tehát vele kezdjük ezt a stafétát.
They turned to Roy Andersson to make the first episode of this.
És én erősen javasoltam neki, hogy ezt csináljuk meg, mert ezzel vissza lehetne kerülni a játékfilmbe, hiszen ez 10 éven keresztül minden évben a tévé levetíti, de mindig hozzá egy rész.
And István was trying to convince him to do it, because it's a good way back for him, for Roy, to the film industry, which he was previously, if you remember, taken out of, because it will be screened every year, because when the first one that is made will be screened also the next year with the second one, the third year with the third one, etc.
És ez a 15 perces filmnek az elkészítése 6 hónapig tartott.
The 15-minute film was lasted 6 months to make.
Igen, de mi tovább léptük.
I was asking him, wasn't it supposed to be 10 minutes? And he said yes, it was supposed to, but it became 15 minutes.
És 2 hónapig kerestük azt, hogy megtaláljuk a stílust.
They were looking, and 2 months after the 6th, they were looking for the language, like the cinematic language that they wanted to create.
Az első jelenet, az később a film közepén van, a fodrásznál találtuk meg a stílust, és onnantól kezdve már jóta ment.
Around the middle of the
World of Glory.
It's in the we're talking about the World of Glory, and in the middle of the film, we will watch the whole film now. It's 15 minutes. In the middle of the film, there is a scene at the hairdresser's place, and that was the first one that they shot, and that's where the vision became clear to them that that's what they will do.
És onnantól már gyorsabban ment, tehát akkor végül is.
From then it was faster.
És amikor bemutatóra került a sor, akkor mindenki megdöbbent, hogy a mulatságos rolfilmje után egy ilyen filmet készített.
And when it was finished, everybody was very surprised that funny Roy Anderson or comic Roy Anderson made something so different and comic. So.
De ugyanakkor, igen, és akkor most nézzük meg együtt ezt a filmet, az egészet 15 perc.
Yeah, now we'll see the film.
Det här är min mor. Jag är mycket fäst vid henne. Det ska du veta, lilla mamma! Min far, han gick tyvärr bort för 14 år sedan. Han ligger här, min far. Och här vill jag också ligga. Ja, och mamma förstås. Och brorsan. En familjegrav kan man säga, som min far köpte. Du tänkte på allt, pappa! Det måste finnas sådana också. Det måste det. Det finns många som vill ha en sån här våning. Särskilt ungdomar. Men de har inga pengar. Och har man inga pengar, då blir det ingen våning. Det här är min säng. Här sover jag och där sover min fru. Jag äter frukost i köket. Och middag med för det mesta. Har vi gäster dukar vi upp i vardagsrummet. Där vi också har TV. Det här är min bil. Jag är mycket nöjd med den. Jag tycker den är bra. Det här är min bror. Brorsan. Han är väl egentligen min enda riktiga vän, om man så säger. Den mannen är skyldig mig pengar. Han betalar inte tillbaka. Han låtsas inte om det. Det är fräckt. Livet det är bra kort ändå. Va? Det går fort på något vis.
Jo. Visst gör det.
Det här är min son. talang. Att ha talang, det är en gåva som man måste vara rädd om. Det måste vi, Thomas. Det måste vi. Om 10 år tar vi bort det här. Om 10 år opererar vi bort det, Thomas.
Jag kan inte se!
Igår hade jag en fruktansvärd upplevelse. Jag trodde jag hade förlorat synen. Att jag inte kunde se. Att jag var blind. Det var hemskt. Fruktansvärt. Inte kunna se.
Kristi blod för dig utgjutet. Tack. Kristi blod för dig utgjutet.
Tack, tack.
Släpp.
Det är någon som skriker. Visst är det någon som skriker. Ha? Det är någon som skriker. Det är någon som skriker.
Du, gå och lägg dig nu. Du måste sova. Annars orkar du inte imorgon.
He thinks that despite the fact that it's a 27-year-old film, it's still very much relevant.
Ezek után természetesen először is kérdezzük meg, hogy akkor yes, yes, yes.
Watching this works, I mean the commercials and this short film, I'm asking myself because I recognize two very important issues that, among others, that you put all together in order to create this cinematic, unique cinematic language. And the first is the space, which define the world where the story is taking place, whether it's a location outside or a setup that you have built. And the other one is the way you position the characters within the frame. Sometimes it's very clear to the camera, sometimes they are looking towards the camera, sometimes in the background. And my question is, can you describe us the way you make this all, how do you make this work together, you and Roy Anderson?
A munka az úgy folyik, hogy minden nap valami politikai vagy kulturális eseményt állandóan megbeszéltük a Studio 24-ben, tehát egy mindennapos munka része volt az analízis, hogy mi folyik.
In Studio 24, the one I mentioned before, Roy Anderson's studio, the way we were working every day is we started the day out with by discussing like relevant things that were happening that day or in that period, analyzing things that were happening.
Maga a vízió az majdnem mindig a Royé, tehát maga az egész elképzelés az a Royé.
The vision itself is always Roy's.
És a szövegeket is ugyanolyan pontosan megfogalmazza, mint ahogy én említettem, hogy szinte a Samuel Beckett pontosságával fogalmaz ezeket a triviális dolgokat.
And he defines and describes his vision to a punctuality and a precision of
Samuel Beckett.
Of Samuel Beckett, like he was very precise about what he was.
És amikor ez az ötlet megjön, akkor kezdünk el beszélgetni, hogy ezt milyen térbe kéne elhelyeznünk. Amikor a Roy ötletét előadta, akkor kell beszélni arról, hogy milyen térben helyezzük ezt a történetet.
So when he would describe his vision, that's when we started talking about into what space to place the vision.
És a jelenetek többségét a stúdióban készítjük.
Most of the scenes are made in a studio.
Ebben a filmben az egy-két külsőt is majdnem a stúdió pontosságával tudtuk megcsinálni.
Even in this film, even the outside scenes were built in the studio.
És utána én javaslok, illetve a kamerán keresztül elkezdünk építkezni. Tehát a kamera az mindig a helyszínen van, és akkor a kamerán keresztül kezdjük elhelyezni a karaktereket, a szereplőket.
And the way it worked was that the camera was always on the location, and they were building the set in front of the camera, and they were putting the characters in the set.
Először mi magunkon próbáljuk ki a pozíciókat, tehát mi vagyunk a képbe a teszteken.
At first, we ourselves are the characters that we try with on ourselves where to place the character.
És utána én csinálok egy fényt, amit javasolok a Roynak, hogy ezt passzol ehhez a jelenethez.
Then I create a lighting setup that I recommend Roy to use.
Akkor kipróbáljuk ugyanezeket a dolgokat a szereplőkkel is, hogy ebben a fényben működik-e.
Then we try the same thing with the characters themselves, the actors. But they're usually non-actors, but the actors.
Ellenőrizzük, hogy a pozíciók jók-e.
We check that the positions are okay.
És akkor utána készre építjük a jelenetet.
Then we finish the scene and ready to shoot.
És elkezdjük tesztelni magát a jelenetet a szereplőkkel.
And we try to test the scene itself with the actors, non-actor actors.
Ezek a tesztek alatt elég gyakran előfordul az, hogy észrevesszük, hogy valami nem működik igazán.
During these tests, we pay attention that something is not working perfectly.
És akkor azokat javítani kell. Még előfordulhat, hogy más színre kell festeni az egészet.
And then we find out that, for example, we have to color the whole thing in a different color.
Vagy hogy a karakterek éppen azok a karakterek nem passzul erre a szerepre.
Or we find out that person is not a good fit for the character.
És mikor minden a helyén van, akkor Roy megírja a pontos szöveget.
And then everything is in place, then Roy writes the exact text.
Ettől a szövegtől nem hajlandó eltérni, tehát nem lehet improvizálni.
There's no improvisation. Like he writes the text and that's what happens.
Ő ragaszkodik hozzá, mert a Roy hallja, hogy ez a karakter ezt a szöveget hogy mondaná el.
He insists on the text because he hears in his head how the character would say that text.
És mivel ez ragaszkodik, néha elég sok felvételt kell csinálni, mivel az amatőröknél nem mindig könnyű, hogy ezt megjegyezzék a szöveget.
And since he insists on it, they will usually have to shoot a lot of takes one after another because they are working with the non-professional non-actors, and it takes them a while to actually do it exactly the way he wants them to do it.
Ez lehet, hogy nem pontosan a kérdésre a válasz.
It might not be the answer for the question that he asked.
De most mutatnék egy kollást, amit erre csináltam, hogy a munkáról, hogy körülbelül hogy dolgozunk.
But he would like to show a collage of that he made actually for this festival to show you guys, to show us to show us how they work.
Roy is sitting down. nagyon sok munka van ezzel, de sokszor az ember jobban érzi magát, mint a Vidám Parkban.
There is a lot of work in this industry, but most of the time you feel better than in the Luna Park.
Yeah.
Yes, please. You're making a very fine frames, static and very fine compositions, and you have all the elements within the frame, in the foreground, in the background, in order that you don't need anything, any cutting, any close-ups, anything else to tell the story. But in order to do this, you need to maintain a depth of field very, very long. I mean, how do you achieve this sharpness along the whole depth of the frame that you won't miss anything?
Sok fény kell hozzá.
You need a lot of light for this.
És körülbelül a 4-es és az 5-6-os blendek között kell állandóan lenni.
Between 4 and 6 of hogy fordítják?
4 and 5 and 6, 5 and 6.
Sebesség?
Stop. És ez egy 16 mm-es optika.
16 mm lens.
68 fokkal vesz föl mindent.
In a 68 degree.
És ennek nagyon-nagyon mélységélessége van.
So the depth of field is very sharp.
Tehát ennél a bendénél itt meg lehet csinálni, hogy körülbelül fél métertől a végtelen minden éles.
So that's how you can achieve this sharpness in the depth.
Thank you. In the early works, in the commercials, and later in the short dramas, and lately the long in the feature film, you use many formats, many aspect ratios. In the beginning it was the Academy frame, 6x4, then 1 to 1.85 widescreen, and then 16:9, and then CinemaScope ratio. What do you think, in your opinion, is much more suitable for this specific language? And if you made any changing along the development of technologies?
Ja, hát az én kedvenc formám az akadémiai formát, az akadémiai formát az 1:33.
My favorite format is the academic one.
Like this Charlie Chaplin. A következő, ami legjobban ez az 1:66-os, tehát az a normál modern film.
The next one I like is 166.
És ez a 16:9-es, amit most kell használni.
And the 16:9 that we use today.
Ez a mai mozik és a mai tévéknek a vívmánya, és most ezt kell használni, mert ez a legelterjedtebb.
That's the standard for cinemas and televisions today, and that's what you have to use.
Amikor ezzel a formátummal elkezdtünk dolgozni, akkor 3 hónapig azzal foglalkoztunk, hogy megtaláljuk a digitális technikának, ez az utolsó film, a Galamb, az volt az első digitális mű, hogy megtaláljuk a digitális technikának az esztétikáját. 3 hónapig kerestük a különböző kamerákkal, optikákkal és a különböző keverékének ennek a dolognak, hogy megtaláljuk ezt az esztétikát.
When they started shooting Pigeon, which is their first work in the digital era, they spent 3 months on trying to find the visual language of the digital format.
És az is, hogy a digitális technika sajnos egészen más fényállítási követel, mint a analóg.
And the digital technology requires a very different lighting circumstances than analog.
És mivel addig dolgoztunk, amíg a referenc monitoron elégedettek nem voltunk a képpel, ezért nagyon sokat kellett, mivel nem a szem után ment az ember, hanem a monitoron kellett jóvá hagyni a képképen.
They were working a lot on each set, on each scene, because they weren't gonna stop until on the monitor they see the perfect result, the one that they cannot do better.
Later, earlier when we discussed the move from the old tradition film cinematography and digital, the modern digital cinematography, you describe very nice the difference between these two sort of images. Can you say it again, because it's very interesting?
Igen, hát az elsőnél azért is, mert kénytelenek voltunk, mivel sok filmre volt szüksége, elég gyors filmekkel, tehát 400-500 iszonyos filmekkel dolgoztunk, és azoknak nagyon nagy volt a szemcsézete. Ezzel kezdtünk fordítani. Tehát az analóg korszakban ott a 400-500 iszonyos filmekkel dolgoztunk, és nagyon nagyok a szemcsézete, tehát a film szemcséhez nagy.
So in the analog era, they were working with films, with film 400 ISO.
És nagy szemcsék voltak, tehát ez durva film volt, tehát nem volt finom.
It was very grainy.
És ez nagyon passzolt inkább egy ilyen festői
and so it looked a lot more like a painting as opposed to.
És mikor átjöttünk a digitálsat, viszont az élessége miatt meg kell találni, hogy ez nem a festészetnek kell hasonlítani, inkább a grafikára.
Yeah, as opposed to the digital format, which is very, very sharp, and so István compares it more to a drawing than a painting.
Annak semmi értelme nincs, hogy a digitális technikával megpróbáljuk különböző technikai segítséggel analogra hasonlítani.
It makes no sense for him to try and recreate the analog look with the digital technology. He prefers to create a new kind of aesthetics and not to try to recreate what is gone.
Yeah, thank you. Before we switch to ask our audience to if they have their own question, I would like to ask the last one. I guess you made a short film, a 1 minute film, which are commercials. You made short dramas and you made feature films. Do you find any difference working on a short film comparing to a very long film? Not only because of its more shooting days, but thinking wise.
Igen, hát a hosszú projekteknél az van, hogy az évek alatt, mivel az utolsó filmről 4 éven készült.
So yes, there is a difference, but mostly the fact that he wants to start by saying the last work was it lasted 4 years to make.
És ezzel a világ is, meg te is változol.
And during when you make a film during 4 years, everything changes. The world changes around you, and you change as well.
És megtartani ugyanazt a fókuszt a stílusra is, és azt, hogy amit akarunk mondani, az még igaznak legyen 4 év múlva is.
So it's the most important to work on it every day in a way that throughout this time, even when everything changes around you and you change, to keep the focus on what you are trying to show and to keep it relevant all the time.
Amikor délután beszélgettünk, akkor megpróbáltam egy példát találni, és akkor a jazz zenészekre gondoltam, akik minden nap zenélnek.
Yeah, he compares it to like the jazz musicians. They play every day, but sometimes there is a show. So the same with them. They were working every day, not only when there was shooting days.
Szóval muszáj zenélni egyfolytában.
You have to do it all the time and keep it going.
Hogy amikor koncertoljuk.
Nice, thank you. Maybe הכדור עובר אליכם. Maybe some questions from the audience. You must have.
I just wanted to ask, Roy Anderson and yourself clearly have a very esoteric signature kind of style. So I was just wondering at the beginning, when you developed it, so what were the references, or when you take non-actors and you want to kind of convey what you want them to do on the screen, so how do you convey that to them, and also how long does it take to prep and shoot a scene like that?
Hát azzal kezdjük, hogy ez változik, hogy milyen hosszak milyen hosszú. Van amelyik 2 hétig tart, olyan építkezés, van olyan jelent, ahol 2 hónapig tartott egy jelent körülbelül.
Szerintem a kérdés az inkább arra vonatkozott, hogy erre is, ez volt a második kérdés. Az első pedig az, hogy amikor ezt a vizuális nyelvet kitalálták, vagy elkezdtek vele dolgozni, akkor milyen referenciákat használtak?
Kezdjük ez a másodikkal, hogy mondjuk az, hogy egyik az 2 hétig is eltartott, vagy 2 hónapig is.
So regarding the second part of the question, it varies very much. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks, sometimes it takes months. And the way they were working is that they didn't really care. They were doing it from the bottom of their heart. It sounds kitschy, but that's what it is.
Másik, hogy valóban a festészet és a klasszikus fotográfia az sokszor segített nekünk, amikor ezt kerestük ezt a vírust.
So, and when we were looking for this visual language, photography and painting, like painting was a big inspiration for us.
Roy az nagyon szereti a figurális festészetet.
Roy likes figurative painting, if that's an expression.
Az egyik kedvence az orosz Ilya Répin.
He liked the Russian Ilya Répin.
A képek tisztázásában Edward Hopper segített, az egy amerikai festő, tehát az Edward Hopper stílusa is segített.
So Edward Hopper, American painter, was another reference.
És egy Dán Hammarskjöld, egy Dán festő, Hammarskjöld, azok a fények.
And the Danish painter was a important reference when it comes to lighting, specifically.
A színeknél azok általában, ami érdekes, hogy az utolsó filmnél, tehát a Pigeonnál, ott egyáltalán nem használtunk semmi más, csak magukból indítottunk, tehát nem volt ilyen segítő.
When they made Pigeon, it was he can say that it's them, like they weren't really thinking of any kind of reference or reference.
Az előfordult, hogy valamit, például ez a rövid film, amikor a Krapek az a lakást árulja, akkor nem találtam ki, igazán nem tudtam, hogy oldja meg a fényt, és akkor jött a kezembe ez a Dán Hammarskjöld, ez a festő, és akkor láttam ezt a fényt az alapos, akkor mondtam már gyorsan.
Yeah, so for example, in this film there was a scene where he couldn't figure out what lighting to use, and he looked at this Danish painter's painting, and it just came.
What is his name?
The Danish painter?
Yes.
Hammarskjöld, yeah.
Name.
Yes,
that's the name. What he's saying.
Okay.
Hammarskjöld. Yeah.
When lighting a scene that is outside or like not in the studio, a lot of times we are looking at the light that is natural inside that space, and that gives sort of a reference of how this place lives. And I think it's probably very different to work inside a studio, especially when creating extremely figurative scenes. And inside all of these films, and even in the commercials, there's a sense that the light is very natural, but because it's a set, there is something a little bit surreal about the atmosphere, which adds a lot. And I was wondering, how do you approach lighting a set like this? I mean, also from the creative point of view, of like references that you had, that you did cover it, but also from the technical point of view of understanding how to make this very natural feeling.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard about it.
Mivel a lágyfényt először is a lágyfényt teremteni.
So first you have to create the soft light conditions.
És utána kell dolgozni az, hogy a lágyfény ellenére legyen a fénynek egy karaktere.
And then you have to create this soft light, some kind of a character.
Amit úgy érsz meg, hogy egy természetes vége.
Which the viewer experiences as a natural lighting, but it has something else to it.
Ez nagyon sok időbe telik, mivel annyi maszkot kell használni. Maszk az, ami serb, valami leválasztja a fényt
it takes a lot of time because you have to use a lot of masks and filters.
Hogyha bemész a stúdióba, akkor az úgy néz ki, mint egy mosókanya.
If you go into the studio, it looks all washed out.
That's right. Szóval, hogy ezzel nagyon sok videót kell csinálni. És az, hogy a felső fény és a lágyfény a mozgások területén mindig le legyen véve a szereplőktől.
So that there is no shadow on the characters. That's how he creates such a lighting condition that fills the whole space with light that there is no shadows.
És ezt nem lehet másképp megcsinálni, csak az, hogyha tudod pontosan a mozgás irányát, és ahhoz passzolod hozzá ezeket a változtatásokat.
And you can't do it in any other way than knowing exactly the movement of the characters and of the camera and the objects and everything, and set and fit all the lightings to it.
És akkor nagyon fontos, hogy a szereplő valóban ott legyen, mert ha egy fél méterre arrébb áll, akkor már rossz rajta a fény.
So it's extremely important to be very precise that the character is exactly there where they planned it, otherwise it's not the way they planned.
Szóval azért tart ez ilyen sok ideig, ez körülbelül úgy működik, mint ahogy a festészetben működik, hogy amikor fölteszi az ember a fényeket.
So it takes a lot of time because it's kind of like making a painting.
So first you build like an ambient light.
Yes.
And then you start adding contrast with stronger lights that are more condensed.
Yes. But this is
very long process.
Many times. Yeah. Okay.
I have one more. Last, I promise. Sometimes we filmmakers try to use our visual tools like color or focal length of lens or movement, camera movement, in order to say something else about our characters more than the story tells by itself. For instance, we shoot one character with the blue color and the other one with the brown color in order to say something, or to use one side the movement, the other possibility the static frame. Do you feel it's necessary, for your opinion, to push our audience to force them to feel something that we want, or leave them to make their own judgments?
Igen. A hagyományos filmekben ez a módszer, amiről itt beszél, azt én abszolút elmondom. Tehát a hagyományos filmkészítésben a vágás és a fényeffektek azok elkerülhetetlenek, amikor egy történetet akarsz elmesélni.
So in traditional film, or traditionally in film, editing and lights is very important for the storytelling.
De hogyha nem történetet akarsz elmesélni, hanem azt akarod bemutatni, hogy milyen az ember, akkor ezt a módszert kell használni.
But Roy and him were doing something else. They were trying, instead of telling a story, to show what humans are. So that's why they were using this kind of simpled down, or simpled down lighting and lighting circumstances and the wide angle in order to influence the audience as less as possible. Not to create, and they know that he knows that that's the rules of traditional film. But they were not. That's not what they were trying to do. They were making art.
Ja, szóval az, hogy a hagyományos filmben, tehát a narratív filmben, amikor valami történetben hiszel, hogy ez a történet az annyira fontos, hogy valamit elmond az emberről, akkor természetesen a film eszközeit és a film dramaturgiáit kell használni.
So if you want to tell a story, a certain story, then of course you have to use the tools of film and of cinema.
De bennünket nem érdekelnek a történetek, bennünket az ember érdekel.
But we don't care about stories. We care about people.
Thank you, Alf and István and Jutta. You will be able to see István again tomorrow. But you will be able to see him here. He's also judging our Israeli competition. And tomorrow at 6 o'clock there will be a screening of a children's album of Brains Reflecting in Existence, followed by a Q&A.
Sorry, because there's a very good mark there for the feature.
תודה רבה למי שהיה פה מהבוקר איתנו, ב-Life is Short, וכנס על הסרט הקצר, ונתראה שוב שנה הבאה. תודה.
בוא שנייה, בוא.
חברים, אפשר בבקשה לפנות את האולם, מודה לחברות חברים, נא בבקשה לפנות את האולם, תודה רבה.
As you can see in the end credit, we are a lot of editors that actually took part of this film. It has a very long process. It was Joshua who was out filming for more than 7 years, as far as I remember, and came to our company in Copenhagen in 2010, I think, something like that, or maybe before, and showed us some of the footage that he had at that time. And we, especially the producer, Signe Bøge Sørensen, we were very, excited about it. Actually, one of the most important things that he showed us was stuff which is not in this film, but is in the next film, which is in the Look of Silence. And but still, some of the footage was here. And then he continued of working and filming. And when it almost came to the end, he was living in London, and we had a couple of workshops talking about what could we do and what did he wanted to do, and they really wanted to have a feeling that they could do 2 times 4 hours films. And we thought that was not really possible to do that much, because they wanted to do integrate in one film the perpetrators and the victims of the film. It ended up to be 2 different films now. It was a big discussion, of course, how to just make one film out of prosecutors. How will we feel about it? How will the audience feel about it? How can we, get around it? So they had a huge amount of material. So in London, there was 3 junior editors who started out to work with Joshua and going through all the material, actually cutting all the different kind of events and scenes and things like that. Joe overcut it, so we could have a scene that they might be, in the cut version, will be 10, 15 minutes long. And over a period of time of 1.5 years, they reduced the original material into something around 100 minutes film. No, not a film, you can say, but 100 minutes of material. And then came on Niels P. Andersen, a fantastic, really very, very, very skilled editor who has done many films that you might have seen. He came on and worked with Joshua for 9 months. During that 9 months, they created what Joshua today will call the director's cut, which is a long version, which is almost 3 hours long or something like that. And then, when that was finished, I came on again and worked for almost 4 months to take that director's cut into the version that you've seen today. So the version that you've seen today is what we call the theatrical release. That was the one that was sent out to the world as the first thing. It was the one that was nominated for an Oscar and other stuff. Also the one that actually I think is shown in the United States. At the same time, Josh was around in the world. Film became very successful. It was because it was very strong and was invited all over. And more and more, it was the long version that Josh wanted to show. That is the technical background about it, so to speak.
Can you tell us something about the difference between the versions, the longer one and this one?
Yeah, I mean, in this one, I think our main goal was to, Justice and I, was to take the audience on a ride with Anwar in such a way that it was more strongly political and emotional understanding for his right through the story. That is to say that we left out quite a lot of things that had a big attraction to Joshua and still do have a big attraction to him, but had a little more artistic way, you could say, a little more, even more artistic way that, in my opinion, personally, I think was overdone. I think this is a very decent film. I think the long versions sometimes go over the top, but that is discussion for those who. I mean, I would really invite you to see the long version as well if you have to. But if not, you definitely should see The Look of Silence, which is the follow-up to this one, which is taking the standpoint from the family of the victims. It's also a very, very strong film. It has different, there's scenes which is not in Joshua's first cut, which is in this one, where the characters is coming up more strongly, more simplifying. There's this very big scene when he talks about, Anwar is talking about human rights, which is not in the original version, but that we put it here in order to step by step take Anwar into the being more broader in his understanding of what kind of situation they were in. It also holds a little different in the ending of the film. Not much, but a slightly little thing. What you saw here now is that he has this very strong feeling on the going back to the roof. I know that we talked about it outside before that. I know that you asked me if we could have stopped the film and ended the film actually on the Anwar watching the television and just being ended up here on his close-up. And I was thinking a lot about it when we watched the film, and I think, no, you need him. You need to take him physically, all the way down. I think that you need to go. It's not that easy. It's not so that you just by watching it and having one little moment of understanding of what actually happened. You have to go all the way into a very, very physical situation. And I hope that the audience will feel that this is something that you can never ever get rid of. It is gonna haunt. Even though that we might slowly get to have a certain feeling for him and understanding of him, then we also know that this is something that will never ever leave you. Whatever kind of situations you ever have been in, it will never leave him, it will never leave anybody. So that was very strong. But on the other hand, it has a little difference, because in the film, of the long version of Josh's film, he get down the steps, and then he's standing there on the steps just for a long time. So we actually leave him there.
He's back to the camera.
What? No, he don't. He just with his back to the camera. That's the way they're shot, and then that goes just into the fish. What I thought, and I think we really wanted to achieve in this version here, is that he had to get all the way out into reality, because out there is the real world. And I also think it had to create a moment for the audience in order to leave him and then step into a situation where you consider all by yourself, what is it that I have seen, without thinking about him, but more taking in your own situation or your own point of view or your own feelings or your own vomiting.
Talking about the ending, I have a question about the beginning. I remember that the first shot in this version is the ocean shot, which we only see much later on in the conversation about karma. And I wanted to ask about this decision to open the movie with this shot.
Well, this is the opening. It's just slightly different. The director's cut started in the fish the same way as this one, but on this one here we have just one little quote up in the beginning. And we thought it was very important to set up the audience in the very right direction. Instead of in the long version that you have a long time, you can take it you have a lot of time for the audience to go through. But here we really wanted, to give it the right point. So say that you're allowed to kill. If you do it, a lot of people, and to the sound of trumpets, it gives you a guideline for what is this actually about. Personally, I also think it opens up the film not just to be a part of the Indonesian story, but also so many other places. We have been through it ever since ancient time, and things is going on. And I think it should be very important for me that the audience will place it in historical time outside of
universal context.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to talk a little bit about structure in general, not only in this film, in documentary films in general. When we edit documentary film, we deal a lot with structure, because we have a lot of freedom to play with the order of scenes. So I wanted to hear from you about it.
What I always have been doing throughout my 45 years of editing, I've switched back and forth between fiction films and documentary. And it serves both the film fantastic that you come from one film into the other. You have the possibility in a feature film, you have the script, in principle, the opening, in principle, the ending of the film. You have the characters, you have a storyline, and of course in the editing you will be able to change things. You could take the ending of the film and put it up in the beginning of the film in order to get the people in the audience awake or make mystery or thinking about what is this, what led to this. And then at the same time, editing, in feature films, these are fiction characters. You can do with them whatever you want. I mean, you can cut them in, you can cut them out, you can switch them around, you can make them into a killer, or you can, in the editing, think that he didn't kill it anyway, or he could be a bad guy, or things like that. You can do with them whatever you want. But if you're doing a documentary film, you have a huge amount of moral responsibility on your shoulder, because this is real people. At the very best, and even on this film like this one, it's very important that the director afterwards can go out, or anybody that in the film crew can go out and look into these people's eyes and say, and that they can have the feeling that we have touched something which is true. So it gives you enormous responsibility for the characters that you're dealing with in a documentary film. Structure-wise, it is really complicated in a documentary film, because you, as you said, I mean, most of the time you have a lot of material. Most of the time you have bits and pieces which is a little story by itself, but they can come in different orders in order to make a whole story. So I would say for 90% of the time when you're doing a documentary film, you are actually looking for the ending of the film. You're editing scene by scene, you're editing thinking about that this is the way that it's going to be, but at the same time, back in their head, you also know that this is just a kind of escalating into the original material in order to find out what is it, what is the truth here, what is the story, what will this actually lead to, until that you, very late in the process, actually find out what is the ending of the story. And then, when you got that, it's much easier to go back in the timeline, in the back of the film that you have been editing, and then start to edit it again, because now you know the ending of the film. The interesting thing about this film here is that actually getting up at the roof is the very, very last shot that they did in this film. So, and it was quite obvious right early that the confrontation with himself being tortured and his reaction to that would have to be very close to the ending of the film. That was obvious. But nobody really did know at that time. I was not part of that, but they didn't really know that the fish would be the beginning of the film, for instance, and what kind of play that would have in the film, and what kind of play all the different kinds of, what do you call it? I forgot that word. Forget about it. Next question. Sorry.
If you remember, you can go back.
Yeah, well, go back.
I noticed that through the film, we have these little small moments where we see the way they treat women. One sentence here and another one again, and only in the end, the subject of rape becomes more specific. Was it your intention to build this idea slowly?
I cannot answer that question. No, I don't know what to say. I don't know. There might have been some structures. I don't recall any discussion about it. No, sorry.
Okay.
I'm out. Sorry.
And about music in this.
Music.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, there is no real, written music for the film. Every time it's music that they have chosen for the. Like the Born Free, I mean, it's their choice to having that, and but there is, of course, in the way of working with the sound, you have this tone just lying there as rumbles, but you can never really talk about it as being real music. It's not a theme. The film doesn't have a theme, musical theme in that sense. It's quite often like that in documentaries film that we are doing. It's really complicated if you have very big scores in documentaries. At least for me, it becomes artificial in a way and take away unless, right.
I think you can feel this kind of music
absolutely.
in the fire scene in the village. You can sense it a little bit more.
It's more. It's not.
We're
discussing whether it's music or not music.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, it's composed in a way, but it's not. It's not what I would say is music. It's more creating tension for the audience, and. But very interesting about that scene is that actually when we get into it, coming from Anwar lying at the bed and getting into the to the cruel moments is it is not very. It's not very loud. It's actually very. It's not very full of energy. It's not like that. It's there, and then slowly that will disappear, and the only thing that you will hear is a breathing that will turn out to actually be Anwar's breathing. So it's a completely different way of dealing with the scene, which actually could have been very loud. I mean, it's not as loud as actually the opening scene where. They try to hire people in the streets to play communists, which is much more, if you see at the final level actually, would be much louder than actually the scene of burning the village. Although you can say that it peaks on the actually burning.
We have only 2 minutes, so if there's a question from the audience, we can have it now. Yeah.
First of all, I'm not a student participating. I don't make film. I love to watch them. So basically, I'm using you as the messenger. First of all, I'd like to say I lived in Southeast Asia for many years and visited Indonesia many times. It was a disgusting film, but that is not a criticism. One thing I'd like to say or ask is why Indonesia, which is what drew me to come. And the other reason I asked that is I lived in Cambodia and the Philippines, and have seen, at least for Cambodia, similar takes, victims living close to their the perpetrators, the same village even. And well, the Philippines will be the next place that this type of film can be done. But that's
I hope.
Director.
I'm not the director now,
I know.
and I cannot really answer into the actual political situation. I don't have the knowledge as Joshua Oppenheimer, of course, have. You know what kind of political influence it had on the Indonesia and around the world, the film. But yes, you are absolutely right. I mean, there is so many films out there. There's so many stories just as horrible as this one that needs to be told. And I can only encourage people to do it, absolutely, but it's not. It takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of, it will be part of your life for a lifetime, because it's so many things happening out there. I can say.
Any last question? Yeah.
You concentrated in Congo. Congo is the main character.
Anwar, you mean?
Anwar.
Anwar.
Okay, yes. And I wanted to ask if it's happened in the editing or you see it before in the shooting.
The decision to make him the main character.
The decision
to make Anwar the main character of the film, was it chosen before editing or while editing?
Chosen in the film. Is that what you're saying? I mean, it's well, you could say that it was Joshua Oppenheimer and I actually did a lot of research and a lot of filming with different perpetrators to begin with, and actually there was a couple of others that was. Just as you said, was living very close to the families of the victims, that he started that he was going to, but it ended up with...
I know he interviewed 40... I know he interviewed and met 40 people before he chose Anwar.
Before he came to Anwar. And I think that one thing that, I mean, Anwar is of course a very, very, very strong character, also because he's such verbal and presenting in front of the camera, but also what turned Joshua on was that this connection with film. I mean, this was really very, very interesting that he was so upset with film at that time, and he also was selling tickets on the black market, and the way that those two things was combined is can very well say it's also a part of the story. You know, what does these images that we as filmmakers do, what do they do to people, and what can we create of monsters? Oh, I didn't say that.
Okay. That's a good way to end.
I think this is close to the end.
Thank you very much. You will be able to catch Mr. Vidisco Jansen in his masterclass on Friday, so you're welcome to come and hear it. He will also be a judge in an independent competition in the festival, so he will be here a lot for more questions.
No, no.